Hi, and welcome to Faith in Front. Today, we want to continue our discussion on God and evil and working through that. Last week, we talked about really just trying to deal with the reality of God and evil and trying to reconcile the two. Today, we want to look at why does God allow evil? Now, before we get into getting into some answers to that question, let me say this, and this may even be more important than the answers themselves. And that is that answers don't always make pain go away. Why do I say that? Because if you're in the eye of the storm right now, if you're in the middle of a trial or a tribulation or some type of evil that has impacted your life and you're just hurting right now, a lot of times answers really don't make the pain go away. I do pray, though, that maybe the answers given can give you the stamina to press through and hold on and not give up and lean into God versus leaning away from him. I know that when you're going through something, you just need comfort. It's sort of like when we go to someone's house, maybe there's a funeral, someone just passed away, and you know how we go support the family. Now, I don't know about you, but one of the things that annoys me is like that person that goes in and just starts clobbering people with a bunch of scriptures. That person may even know more scriptures than you, but at that point, they're just hurting right now. So a lot of times your silent presence can speak more volume to the situation than you just going in there, kind of being oversaved. Hurt is real. Jesus even wept. Okay. So sometimes our emotions will run a blitz on our faith and sack it. It's like that. And if you're at that place right now, I just want to encourage you to hold on. And I wanted to say this up front because I don't want to come across insensitive to someone who may be going through some hurt right now. Answers are a little bit more digestible when we're not in the middle of the storm, right? So let's get into why does God allow it? Well, the first reason is free will. When God made mankind, when he made Adam and Eve, he gave them free will. He didn't make them robots. And sometimes people will say, well, if God knew all of these things were going to happen, why didn't he just make us all good? Well, he could have made us programmed robots that only did good. And you might say, well, what's wrong with that? Well, the problem with that is that if we're all just programmed robots that only do good, then we don't really experience true love. The main ingredient for love is free will. If there is no free will, you're just a programmed person. That's why we know that like robots and computers and things like that, they can't love because they are programmed. And God wanted us to experience genuine love, and love cannot be genuine if there is no free will. So yes, the downside is that yes, you now have the potential for evil because you're not free will if you can't do other than what you're doing. And yes, Adam and Eve, when they sinned in the garden, they used their free will. And so yes, that's how evil and sin actually came into be. So free will plays a part. Does God sometimes intervene for free will? Yes, he does. And sometimes he doesn't. We a lot of times will thank God for keeping us from danger seen and unseen. And because we know that sometimes God has intervened on our behalf. We just didn't know it. Okay. And so I know that leads to the question, well, if he could intervene and stop it, why doesn't he? Well, let's go to the second point. So we talked about free will. Now, the second point is that there are a lot of times God is, especially for the Christian, God is trying to reveal something greater about himself that you didn't know about him. So he had to allow you to go through a trial in order for you to see this other side of him that you would have never known. Most of you may be familiar, and if not, there's the story of Mary, Martha, and Lazarus. Lazarus dies. Well, Lazarus gets sick first. Then they say, go get Jesus, because they've seen Jesus heal. They've seen him heal people, right? They've seen him intervene. They've seen him heal people who were sick. So they say, well, go get Jesus. Go get Jesus. Well, Jesus hears about it, but he still lays back for a couple of more days. Now, on the onset, that just may look like, well, good grief. Like Jesus, you're leaving them hanging, right? Okay. But Jesus ends up going. And by the time Jesus gets there, yes, Lazarus has died and everyone is upset. And Mary and Martha are like, hey, we sent word. Like, why'd you take so long? They were basically saying, why did you leave us hanging? That's really what they were saying. Why did you leave us hanging? I mean, we're cool. We're tight. Jesus was close to Lazarus and Mary and Martha. He was close to them. But what does Jesus end up doing? He ends up raising Lazarus from the dead. They were like, we didn't know this part. So there are times that God is going to allow you to go through evil and go through trials and tribulations because there's something greater about himself that he's trying to reveal to you. And yes, I'm the first one to say, I don't like trials. I don't like tribulation. I'm the first one that's saying, God, get rid of it as quick as you can. Okay, so everything that's being said, it's for me too. Okay, but God will sometimes, this is just we're just looking at some reasons. Now, God is God. There's many other reasons, but I'm not God. But so we're just looking at a few of them. So that's another reason. Reason number one, free will. Reason number two is that God is trying to reveal something greater about himself that you didn't know. And then number three, God is more concerned about our conformity to him than our comfort. Now, I don't even like how that feels coming out of my mouth because I like comfort. I do. I like to be comfortable. But God, that's not God's number one priority. God's number one priority is not my comfort. It's conforming to his image. So he will bring trials and tribulations in my life that will drive me to him. Because think about it. When things are going all right, and you get ready to pray because you need to pray. But you're distracted. You're trying to figure out what to say. But you let a good trial hit you. You are locked. You are focused. Laser sharp prayers. I mean, no distraction. I mean, you're like, God knows how we're wired. So sometimes he brings trials and tribulations in our life because he knows that that's when we are our sincerest towards him. Because that's all God's wanted. He just wants sincerity, authenticity. He wants us to be genuine. And so even when you're upset about it, you can say, man, what was the point of that, Lord? And I'm not pushing being disrespectful to God, but pray what's in you. If you're going through something, going through a trial or a tribulation, some evil that has hit you, give it to God. And know this, and this will be the last one. Scripture tells us that we wrestle not against flesh and blood, but principalities of darkness. There is a spiritual warfare going on out there that I've talked about in past conversations. There is a spiritual battle. Okay, there is an enemy to God. And yes, there are some times that he's going to attack you. And yes, just like Job, God is going to allow it because there is a greater good that he's trying to bring out. You may have heard the story of Joseph. Joseph gets sold into slavery. He ends up going to prison, being accused of rape, all this stuff that most of us would be tempted to run away from God on. But what does he say at the end of the story? What you meant for evil, God meant for good. We have to keep in mind that yes, he's loving, he's all powerful, he's omniscient, he knows all. So when we're going through something, yes, it's going to hurt. It's going to hurt us. But we have to keep in mind that if we really trust God and we remember what he has already done for us on the cross, we can hold on with stamina. I'm not saying do a happy dance because you're going through something. No one does that. But God will allow evil because there is something greater, a greater good. When I think about the horrors of slavery in this country and other countries, but just keeping it in context, just the horrors of slavery in this country. There's a scripture in Romans 8:28 that says God works all things together for the good. Well, I believe I'm that good that's been worked out because of something so horrible. I am in a country where I have more freedoms than many other countries. So yes, it was a horrible start, but it's kind of funny when people kind of dog out this country. None of them never want to leave it, but that's another topic. But I believe that I am the good. That when God says God works all things together for the good. And I could go on and on, but I want to be conscious of your time. I pray that just looking at why God allows evil, it's been helpful to you and gives you the stamina to just press on. Not saying you got to feel good, but just press on. And as always, keep your faith in front.